Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to do something that is, honestly, really fascinating. We are going to completely unpack a remarkably dense piece of source material, the script from the Grand Theft Auto 6 Trailer 1. Now get this transcript is exactly 40 words long. Literally just 40 words, but as you'll see, the narrative mechanics working right beneath the surface of this incredibly brief exchange are deep. Like really deep. It brilliantly sets up these profound themes of trust and partnership. So let's dive right in. Okay, let's kick things off with the very first line of the transcript. It reads, "Lucia, do you know why you're here?" Bam! Instantly, we are dropped straight into a cold interrogation. There's absolutely no warm-up here. This single, pointed sentence instantly establishes a severe power dynamic between the speaker and our protagonist, Lucia. It effectively locks us into a setting of incarceration and immediately sets the stage for a heavy story all about consequence.
Section 1. The Illusion of Luck.
Now, notice the stark contrast between the two main interactions Lucia has to navigate here. On the one hand, we've got the authority figure, this interrogator demanding accountability. But on the other hand, we have her partner, who's offering collaboration and talking about sticking together. These are essentially the two massive gravitational pulls acting on Lucia right now. Her total isolation against the system versus survival through a partner. And how does she actually respond to that initial intense interrogation? She just says, "Bad luck, I guess." When she's pressed by the authority figure about her situation and, why she's locked up in the first place, Lucia's response points to this uncontrollable, totally external force. She doesn't confess to a crime. She literally just blames the universe. Claiming bad luck does three very specific things for the narrative. First off, it totally deflects personal responsibility. Second, it acknowledges that she operates in a chaotic, totally unpredictable world. But honestly, most importantly, it sets this crucial thematic baseline. Because she views her current predicament as just a mere twist of fate, this absolute lack of control early on in the script creates a massive need for a stronger, much more reliable anchor later on in the story.
Then, the source text hits us with this line, "Well, look who's back." Now, this is a brief, seemingly throwaway interjection, but trust me, it carries so much weight. It injects this heavy sense of history and repetition. It tells us right away that this isn't some isolated incident, strongly hinting at a return to a specific lifestyle, a specific setting, and perhaps a cycle that she's currently trapped in.
Which brings us to Section 2, Survival Through Partnership. The script then transitions to a totally new conversation, and the pacing of the dialogue dramatically slows down here. The only way. This isn't just a casual suggestion. It's presenting an absolute, uncompromising condition for their future. In a wildly chaotic world, they are effectively narrowing all their options down to one single path forward. We're going to get through this. Now, notice that deliberate shift in pronouns? We have moved entirely away from the singular, isolated focus of the interrogation. Do you know why you're here? Straight to the collective, shared risk of the word we. The immense burden of survival is suddenly a shared one. Is by sticking together. And this just brilliantly illustrates the core mechanism of the trailer's entire narrative. Sticking together. This codependence is presented as the direct, undeniable antidote to the bad luck we talked about earlier. You can't control luck, right? But you can definitely control who you stand beside. The script immediately reinforces this point, being a team. The concept of merely sticking together, which, let's be honest, could just be a temporary alliance of convenience, is explicitly codified here into a formal, highly intentional partnership. They are out loud, right in the moment, defining the exact terms of their survival to one another. It's basically a direct problem and solution structure being negotiated in real time. The conflict is simply getting through this, overcoming the incarceration, the wild chaos, and the strategy? Sticking together and being a team. It's incredibly logical, super strategic, and entirely dependent on mutual reliance. And then, literally right in the middle of this intense, calculated negotiation of their survival, the transcript throws this at us. Woohoo! This sudden crazy exclamation of pure adrenaline starkly contrasts with the super serious tone of their pact. It's a fantastic narrative gear shift. It totally reminds us of the high-octane, thrill-seeking nature of the environment they are choosing to navigate together. They aren't just trying to survive, they are absolutely reveling in the danger.
Section 3. The Ultimate Question, Trust.
So we kind of need to redefine what trust actually means in this specific context. Because here, trust isn't just about believing someone will keep a secret for you. It is the absolute essential, high-stakes requirement for survival. When you are navigating a world built on bad luck and authority figures constantly trying to lock you away, trust is the literal only currency that actually matters.
So, the partner distills everything they've just discussed into a single word, phrased as a question. Trust? The entire proposition is laid out not as some guaranteed statement of fact, but as a highly vulnerable, totally open-ended question posed from one partner to another. It demands a response, right? It effectively forces the protagonist to actively opt into the partnership.
And Lucia replies, trust. The immediate affirmative echo provides the exact required confirmation. With this single, powerful repetition, they effectively seal their dangerous pact. The vulnerability of the question is perfectly met with the total solidity of the answer.
Zooming out and looking at the 40-word transcript as a whole, we can actually see a complete three-step narrative arc. From isolation and interrogation, where the protagonist is just a solitary victim of luck, to the proposition of unity, where the I becomes a we, and finally, to the solidification of trust. In just a handful of sentences, the text completely transforms the protagonist from a helpless, isolated prisoner into a fiercely committed, empowered partner. Ultimately, this incredibly concise script leaves us with a really provocative question to ponder. In a world driven by bad luck, is trust literally the only real way out? The text heavily argues yes. It masterfully uses just 40 words to suggest that when the universe is chaotic and the authorities are closing in, human connection and absolute, unwavering partnership are your ultimate survival tools. Definitely something to think about the next time you consider the mechanics of a truly great story. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep analyzing.